And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 92nd episode of Game Theory Gang. I'm Maddie Allen with ChrispyMan of hexfire.io and our special guest tonight, DIY Investing. Welcome.
Sorry. Good to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. And I am aware that you have a successful YouTube channel. You have lots of subscribers, and ChrispyMan has been following your work for quite some time. And I'm new to your content, and so I think we're gonna have a great show tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's cool to honestly hear that he followed me for a little while. It's nice to see that there is a little bit of mutual understanding there, because I honestly don't know a lot of people in Hex. I just recently kind of got involved with this community because of actually my ex-girlfriend got me involved with it. So it's kind of nice to get into it, because I do notice that there's some people that already know who I am. So it's been nice to kind of connect with those people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, our our community is pretty observant. So I think it was the first time you mentioned it. You know, we were pasting it all over the place. Right? You had mentioned Hex at one point,
Right.
and then I don't know if it was like your first video, but I remember you popped up. This is several years ago, and you're like in some attic. I think it was an attic with another guy. And the two of you guys.
Oh yeah, my friend. Yeah, my friend.
Yeah, way in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're kind of feeling your way through it. So I've appreciated. So listen, it's entertainment, right? I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong about everything, but you're pretty reasonable in your approach, and it follows kind of mainstream mostly. But you also come up with some nice tidbits here and there, right? Observations that other people maybe aren't making about crypto in general and what's going on. And now I haven't watched for quite a while. I've also seen you go through some of the same things we've gone through. I mean, it's just different things you learn in crypto only through experience.
Yeah, it's an entire cycle, that's for sure. You're bound to learn things, especially as you go through it each and every time. I mean, this is 8 years in crypto for me, so it's just been a constant learning experience the whole way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, tell us more about how you started in crypto. You were starting to tell the story backstage, and I could already tell it was so good. I wanted to share it live.
Yeah, so basically where I was at was I got into crypto, and I was basically had just gone out of a lot of therapy programs. There was a couple that I had to go to that were one was 65 days, and then another was I don't know, 9 days or something like that. And then I got out, and then I got sentenced to juvenile detention for 45 days. So then I went there, and then I went back to another therapy program for another 3 weeks. Most of that was just to look good for the judge, because I was in a decent amount of trouble with drugs and things like that. So I was kind of going through a lot of different things, didn't really have any direction in life, didn't know what I was going to do. And then I get out of all of that, I get back home, and I just happened to hang out with a friend. And it was actually at the time where we were kind of hanging out to be using the internet for maybe not the most clean reasons. But anyways, that was where he ended up showing me about Bitcoin and how it was used on the darknet markets and stuff. And so he showed me Bitcoin, and at that exact same time, he was looking at the chart, because he was trying to learn a little bit more about trading. And so he showed me the chart and how it makes these big cycles, these big boom periods, and then has these big bear markets, so to speak. And that was right when Bitcoin was at $450, and he was learning a little bit about technical analysis, and he showed me how it was in this big ascending triangle, and we were just kind of freaking out because we knew it was about to do it again. So I ended up putting a little bit of money that I had left, just not even that much, maybe $500 to my name. At the time, I was still living in my mom's basement, didn't have a car, didn't have anything. So I put all my money into Bitcoin at $450. And then 2017 kind of happened, made a bunch of money. My friend went from living in a shack outside of his parents' house to making $1 million that first year. I didn't do nearly that good, because I wasn't as early, but that was kind of the beginning stages of all of crypto and being able to decide that this is the thing I wanted to do. That was kind of the pivot point in my life where I stopped getting in trouble, where I just focused entirely on crypto, quit hanging out with the same people I was. And it was that exact moment in time I can look back as like the defining point where I kind of was able to change my life. So it's been a good experience to kind of have to go through all of this. And now 8 years in, it's been the thing that I've been able to get my family out of debt. It's been the thing I've been able to help my other brothers, family, sisters, whatever it is, just invest long term. And it's changed pretty much everybody's life. So it's been kind of the biggest blessing that anybody's been a part of, so to speak.
I love it. Yeah, I worked as a substance abuse therapist before I did so well in crypto.
Wow.
I could come and start to scale the message of long-term thinking and the different ways that we improve ourselves. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool that you were able to pull yourself out of the substance abuse lifestyle using crypto and all the other skills that you have.
Right.
Very, very commendable, man.
Yeah.
It is.
Well done. Yeah. Congrats.
It is. One of the things I like about your streaming, always upbeat. Usually, I mean, yeah, maybe not always, but mostly upbeat, and just reminding people about cycles. Now, you get the argument from people, this time's different, blah blah blah. We get that all the time.
Right.
Maybe someday this is different. But what has given you the fortitude to believe that the cycles are going to repeat, or the cycles repeat? Because I mean, in 17, we just assumed it was going to happen because that's what everybody else told us, right?
Right.
But, then once we got to 21, we proved that. But now, here we are, coming up on 25, right? 24,
Yeah.
25. What makes you believe that that crypto will indeed go up in price?
Great question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's everybody's main question, because everybody wonders when everything's going to kind of end. And I do think there will be a point for that. I mean, if you look at cycles, every cycle that there's ever been, there's always been this big boom period that eventually ends in some type of multi-year correction. So I do think it's inevitable, but I don't think we're quite there yet, mainly because like when I got into crypto in 2016, there was almost nothing. Like pretty much the major people using it were like darknet vendors, like people trying to buy drugs online. That was kind of the main reason for anybody using Bitcoin. And then in 2017, things started to change because you had Ethereum come on scene, 2016, 2017, around that time. That started to blow up, and then that brought all of the altcoins kind of into the market. So we saw so much change happen throughout there. And in 2017, seeing all that change, it was kind of like seeing so much growth in the market, seeing so much change. It felt like that could have been the real cycle where it was all going to take off. But I mean, it still really wasn't even close when we look at like the total market cap versus how much money it takes for institutions to have the liquidity to properly trade, to buy, sell, and invest into these things long term. So when we're looking at where we're at right now and having the ETF, I kind of look at that as like the last hurdle for crypto as a whole for mainstream adoption. Once that goes through, I just don't really foresee that there's any other thing that needs to really happen for true global adoption to take place. And I kind of look at the ETF as being a way that they kind of control Bitcoin, being able to paper trade it and do things like that in the same ways that they've manipulated other markets. So I'm kind of looking at this as potentially the true blow off top, so to speak, I guess you could call it. The cycle that could be the institutional cycle, the one where everything takes off and we get kind of this global adoption, like maybe the internet bubble. But I think this is so much bigger because it's the internet of our money. It's just so many different things with blockchain that I think that it's going to bring so much value to the game that we've never really seen. And, one of the people that taught me about 4-year cycles and understanding those, and really the reason I've been able to make so much money in crypto, he was also kind of a person that taught me more of the intricacies of these timeframes that we follow. And the way it's looking in this cycle is I really just wouldn't be surprised for this to end up being kind of the true top before some type of multi-year corrective period starts in. And I wouldn't want that to be the case, because I would love for the market to just keep going up and for me to just keep making money forever. But I just kind of at the point where I'm thinking that that's going to be the case. And so I've really just kind of buckled in, invested as much as I can with this, gone as full all in as I possibly can, which I mean, I've been all in since 2016, so nothing changed. But now I just know more than ever. I've learned more over this last like 4 years than I could have possibly imagined, just paying for courses, getting different people I met inside of the market. And so I'm honestly just looking forward to the way things are going to play out, because if this really is like the institutional cycle where everything takes off, I just think that the amount of profit people can make, even by getting in right now, because we're still relatively early on big picture. So I just think that the opportunities there are like truly life-changing, even if, you know, you didn't get in the last cycle, or if you didn't get in 2016. I've been able to build a lot for myself, but there's people that are going to make way more than I ever made just in this one couple of years. So it's going to be pretty fun to see how all of that transpires.
When you said this guy, were you talking about Bob or somebody else who that taught you about cycles?
Oh yeah, definitely Bob.
Yeah, Bob Lucas, I think you're referring to. Yeah, I've followed him for a while. I don't like that he does cast a bit of shade on Hex whenever anybody brings it up, and
sure.
I've thrown it out there in the chat with him a couple times, and you know, got people beat me up, say, oh, you know, you're part of that scam thing. But the way I look at it is this, you know, other than him specifically calling out Hex and saying, hey, that's not something real, it's scammy, blah blah blah, you know, everything he says matches up in crypto, in my mind. All right, I'm not saying he's going to be right about, you know, a left translated, you know, kind of curve and all this other stuff. We'll have to see. But you know, all the things he likes about crypto in general, they all apply to all the crypto we're involved in over here with PulseX and HEX. And so the only difference is, you know, in the nuance of, you know, whether they, you know, somebody decided it was a scam, you know, just because. So I'm sure we'll get into that and talk about that a little bit. But because, you know, because at the end of the day, right, the reason Bitcoin keeps going up is people are buying and holding it, right? And the reason the price goes down is people sell it. I mean, it's not much different than you know, than anything else when we're talking about crypto. So usually that's the first litmus test, I think, of coming into crypto. If you don't believe in crypto to start with, then there's no sense having the rest of the conversation. But once you get past, you know, the belief that crypto is a thing, you know, yes, I realize there are scams. I don't mean there aren't scams out here, but when you apply it to real crypto, I mean, it's the same dynamics, it's just different tokenomics each time. You know, different levels of community support and all the rest, in my mind.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, a lot of people kind of hate on Hex and the whole community around PulseChain, but I kind of was one of those people. But I saw Hex unfold in the early beginning, and I was just broke and didn't have money to put into it because I wanted to. I wanted to put a bunch of money into it at the beginning because I kind of just knew it was going to take off. I remember Richard Hart back before he even had like 15,000 followers on Twitter, and he was just kind of beginning in crypto. So I remember seeing how all of it transpired, and you know, seeing some of the early people that were involved with it, but just knowing it was going to take off and just not really having any sort of way to get into it. It definitely sucked, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of what happens inside of the market. You can't always get involved, but you know, I wrote it off for the following couple of years. It really took off. Then I was just like, well, I'm priced out. I'm definitely not getting in. But then I had an ex-girlfriend in the last bull market, and she was the one that like really got really involved with Hex, started buying it. That was right before the whole market went crazy. And then it was her that got me involved with PulseChain too. And I don't think I got in like the very first day of the sacrifice. I think it was like the second day or maybe the third day. But it was all because of her that I even did that. She was just like, you have to put money in, please. Just, you have money in the bank, just put some in. It's not like it's going to matter at all. It might turn into a lot though. So I put a little bit in there. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was like $10,000. And I felt like that was like, if it goes up, I could make a good amount of money. If it doesn't, then it's like, you know, it's whatever. It's not, at least it went to charity too. That was another thing. I thought the whole idea thing,
that was a salesy thing. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. And I understood that. But at the end of the day, like, to see the way that it's all built, it's truly one of the more like decentralized, if not one of the most decentralized alternatives. So it's like, as I've been a part of the community, I've understood a little bit more about what it is that he's created and the community behind it. And it actually does hold a lot more of the original values of what crypto used to be back in 2016, because it's changed so much. It used to be more of a libertarian, fully decentralized, like anti-government, like be your own bank type of thing. And it's really just migrated from that. It's just became about profit, so like almost solely. So I think it really kind of has a lot of those original values of why I got into crypto, and to see the community bridging from that, regardless of the lawsuit. I think that that's kind of a similar thing as what we saw with XRP and how they were able to ultimately overcome that. I kind of look at it all as one and the same. It's just, you know, who knows really? I don't want to get into the ton of details right off the bat, but it's just like, I think that the what HEX is and the community behind it really values a lot of the original focus of crypto. And so long term, I, you know, continue to believe in that as just what my original values were with crypto when I got in.
You read my mind, and that's exactly the way I see it, that HEX is supporting these values that have been lost in other cryptos that I was involved in, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything
Right.
like that, with Uniswap, gatekeeping, and picking winners and losers, you know, because they're getting bossed around by the government or whatever. Thanks for the invention of a decentralized exchange.
Right.
We're going to make it better. We're not going to duct tape a token on. It's going to be real DeFi. And yeah, I think we are really early compared to how far away the rest of crypto is moving. We have a super chat here from Nikki B. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Very generous. Nikki B says, great lineup tonight. Glad to see Donovan here. You guys rock. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Also, we're going to crush 2024.
Amen.
Merry Christmas. I think so. I think so. You know, here's a little trivia thing. You know, listen, crypto goes up and it goes down. We know nobody likes 90%, 99% down, right?
Right.
And actually, even though we pick on HEX and say it went down 99%, I don't think that's the actual number, because we got that fork, and so there's a fork value there. But regardless, here's the trivia. If since launch somebody had been DCing in weekly, they're still up. They're still up. They're up 70, 80% on EHEX alone, without counting that they got their copy. And so from a viability, hey, we've had 4 years, we're able to watch this. From a viability perspective, people have done better with moving value in that had done that, you know, in this test case into the HEX ecosystem, and have earned greater rewards through their mining than they ever would have gotten in TradFi. So from is this game working? Yes, it's working. Okay, you know, we can get into 1,000 different angles about different things about why prices will never go up, never be the same, never go. They're all going to go down, whatever that is. But I've got more HEX than I had started in the beginning, because I've been using the staking protocol,
Right.
and it's worth more in dollars in such a way that it beats any APY, even my stock market returns over the same period of time. And so now a lot of people don't get excited about that, because, you know, what the hell, 70% over 4 years? You call it 80%, right? This is crypto. But for something to work and provide that, that's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty damn good, because, you know, if I could find you you know, a stock or a security out there to buy, you know, and I told you you're going to get 20% return every year, that's pretty hellacious, man. People eat that up. That'd be like a blue chip type of thing, and even the blue chips don't stay up like that. So, but yeah, it's interesting for sure. Long time horizons, delayed gratification. There's a little bit of cycle play, you know, time in the market versus timing the market, all that stuff.
Now, we have somebody in the chat here who says that most people are wrecked. And I would, you know, question that as something that is probably knowable. It's on chain. And that's another unique selling point of HEX, and some other things, but mostly HEX is the one that has so much volume on chain compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so it's knowable how much people are up and how much people are down. And I would argue that while it might feel like most people are wrecked because maybe they didn't time lock and they didn't sell the top and they didn't buy the bottom and they didn't even buy the middle. Like, did you buy the middle at least? At all? Did you buy any in the middle? Did you buy any at the low? I think one of the coolest statistics I've heard recently is that the global average buy price of HEX has been 6 cents. And so yeah, I mean, if the combined value of HEX is down
Sure.
to 1.5 cents, then yeah, people have experienced what crypto does, which is provide extreme volatility, both to the downside and the upside. Because remember, if you've been holding HEX for a year, right? That's not that long in crypto. I mean, it's like that's not long in life. It's a normal amount of time for an investment. The government gives you lower taxes if you hold for a year. You would have held through a 6x off of the lows of this time last year when HEX was trading, at 1.7 cents, and then it went all the way up to 12 cents. So if you were so wrecked that you didn't buy a little bit at the bottom, and then you were so greedy that you didn't sell any at the local top, then you must really believe in this thing. And you must really think that it can do bigger numbers unless you sold. But yeah, it's doing a poll, I think, is one way to get feedback. But again, I'm pointing to the data on chain, and I'm looking at what the DEX ratio was and what the real price was of HEX, and it was really 12 cents before PulseChain launched, and it was really 1.7 cents last year. And I wish it was higher. Of course, I want everybody to do well. I was onboarding people all along the way, so it's not lost on me that some people are down, and but for me, it's a long-term game as well.
Yeah, I think it has to do with measurement. I mean, Eli's right in that if I did buy the top, by the way, right, because I was DCing in all throughout, the run up. But if I had only bought the top, yeah, I'm pretty down, right? I mean, so it's about framing and time, the time ranges that we're talking about. I mean, I've been around since 17. So I saw, ETH at super low prices. I bought ETH, what was the first top, right around 1200, 1400 in 18. And,
Ouch.
you know what, when it got
I did
down to
too.
80 and I had a pile of that, I was feeling pretty bad about it. But where did it go next, right? It went up to 40. So I'm glad I bought some more at 80.
4,500.
Excuse me, 4,500, and went up to 4,500. Same thing with Bitcoin. Of course, I didn't think it made any sense to buy Bitcoin under 1,000, but it sure made a lot of sense to buy it at 2,000. Right, and then was able to buy that up as we went up. Same type of thing, though. I think I did stop at I just did stop buying around 12, but it sure as hell didn't feel good when it got down to 3. Right. After Richards came out today,
3.8 sucked. Yeah.
we're going down. They had the bulls over, and I'm like, I'm holding, and I just rode it all the way down. But I was DCing back in, but it felt really
2019.
good up at 60. Right. So I don't know, any one of those 2
2021.
points, I could have said I was wrecked. Right. Sure. And if Bitcoin didn't come back, then I would be wrecked. Right. And if ETH didn't come back, I would be wrecked. And if HEX doesn't come back, I guess I'd be sort of wrecked, because right at the moment it's still good shape for that overall DCA, like I said. But yeah, if it goes to 0, I guess I'm wrecked. And I think that's kind of like that FOMO FUD type of thing, like relationship in crypto. It was like when everything's going up, nobody believes it's going to go down, and when it's down, nobody believes it's going up. It's kind of like rough. I mean, some of us, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's bound to shift because everybody, I mean, a lot of people are bound to get in at the top. Most people get in at the bad time of the cycle. I happen to be lucky and just get in early because of just pure coincidence. But at the end of the day, like most people, even in my first cycle being early, I didn't know what I was doing. So I bought the top regardless. It's kind of like your rite of passage in crypto is to like get wrecked at least once in a cycle. So I mean, if you're down, assuming like if you believe in crypto, I mean, it's hard when you're down to believe in it long term because it seems like it, like you said, it'll never go back up again. But like the amount of times that I've held on to a loss, I mean, if I look in the last cycle and I think of like if I think of 5 different 100x investments I've had, at least 3 of those, I held on to at least a 60% loss at one time. So it's like, like there's going to be periods where you have to do that, but that's why you have to have conviction in your investment. Like if you are just blindly throwing money at anything, that's when you're the type of person that's going to buy tops, sell when it starts crashing, and then realize those losses continually. Whereas if you're somebody that's kind of got conviction in what you're investing in, and you're choosing to focus in on the long-term trend, like you can afford to be at a loss for a period of time, but it's more along the lines of like, you can't just say, well, I'm going to buy it here and then just be done forever. I mean, you could, I guess, that's fine too. But like for me, if I have conviction in something, if it goes down, I'm willing to keep investing into it, or at least I'm willing to hold throughout that turmoil of the craziness where I might not know. Because at the end of the day, we're just playing narratives. Whatever narrative sticks, whatever one gets a lot of adoption, ends up playing out in a big way. And we don't really know what ones are going to be the big ones, which is why I personally diversify a lot. It's not like I'm just all in on one project. But when you do have that conviction, I have a lot of like, admiration of the people that can go all in on a project and just get filthy rich. Because it's like, if you have enough confidence in one thing that you just for sure know it's going to be the biggest thing, and then it actually does all of that, that's really cool that you were able to see all of that, because few people can do it. For me, it's like I'm like a little insecure about my ability to just guess that one number one project. And so it's like I like to just kind of choose and pick little things. And I think PulseChain really could be one of those big ecosystems. For me, one of my best investments, layer ones, they've always been something I've done very well with. And I look at PulseChain as their whole ecosystem is so undervalued. Like there's other projects that you could be looking at inside of it that nobody's really talking about. And as we're starting to see a lot of this new money coming into the market, even though the price is down, I kind of think that all of this is going to end up reversing, and people are going to start forgetting about the fact that the market's down, everybody's losing money, because it's just emotion. The second the price flips, the emotions change, and then everybody gets excited again, and you'll see everybody just being, happy and saying positive things for once.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's been one thing that helped me through the Bitcoin bear markets was following YouTubers who were speaking rationally and helping to cause, helping me to believe whenever it's the hardest to believe emotionally. And yeah, I think that, well, hold up. So we have 135 people watching live. We have had 2.7K on the replay the past few weeks. So shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like and subscribe button. I've got links to Donovan's Twitter and YouTube in the description below. So hit the like button or get out. And now I want to ask you guys, did you get anything for Christmas this year from Richard Hart?
Well, I got a video.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah, I got a stream and I posted it. So yeah, I got something.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. And is that something that he does a lot these days, or what?
I think there's this guy, Matty Allen, that was the last person to speak with him live.
Well, sticker guy, but yeah.
Well, sticker guy. Okay.
It was on the conference last year.
Well, yeah. It's been quite a while. It was a great video though. It was a great stream to watch. Donovan may not know, but Richard had posted a Merry Christmas stream last night, and so a lot of us watched that, of course, right, because we have a very strong community in that way. And yeah, same old Richard.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, we just got a 80 or 90-minute video from Richard, and I guess a couple months ago he put out a podcast that was not with video or whatever, but he tweets very frequently. Some people they're bothered by the fact that he doesn't YouTube as much as he used to, but then again, he doesn't work for you. This is real crypto. And so we like that. We like when he is making himself available, and when he doesn't, that's okay too. And so, yeah, so that's some big news here that just happened. And so we can say a little bit. I think other people have covered what the main points are. And certainly if you haven't seen the video, go check it out when you get a chance. But I guess my question for Donovan would be, what do you think of Richard? And and because it seems like you think highly of real crypto and the crypto markets. So I'm curious what you think of Richard.
Yeah. So, like I said, I remember him from all the way back in 2017, and um, I don't remember a lot from him just in 2017. I just remember seeing him popping up as just like somebody on Twitter. Um, but then kind of with Hex and when he launched all of that, that was when his popularity really increased a lot. And that was where kind of everybody knew him in crypto. And so at that point, that was really where I remember him the most. And like you guys said, talked about his plan for like kind of original crypto. That was like I wanted to get in the whole time because I really did believe in it, but I just didn't have any money at the time. And so I always kind of believed in his idea as far as that goes. And so as time has gone on, to see everything transpire. Like I guess you could say the way that he like promotes himself just on his live streams where he would just wear all of this designer stuff and do all of these things, it would really rub people the wrong way, spending money and all of these different things. But at the end of the day, like you have all of these different people that created these projects that are going to get really wealthy off of them. And I don't necessarily look at that as a bad thing. It's just that everybody's going to use that however they want. And so maybe at one time I thought that was like, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I honestly think that the majority of that was just the fact that I was jealous that I just missed out on Hex. I don't know if that really had anything to do with me. Like, I think it was just me like, oh man, look how rich this guy got and look how I missed out. Like, do I actually hate the guy or am I more of like actually just jealous of what happened with Hex and how I did miss out on the whole thing? So to see how everything's transpired, to me, I actually believe in his vision. I actually think that everything that he's working on has the potential to be something that, is truly decentralized, true original blockchain and crypto. And so, I think I've got more power to him. I think that he can do something really cool. Maybe he rubs some people the wrong way by the way that he promotes himself, but everybody's unique in their own way. And honestly, I think he's just such a cool person. Like he just comes off as just such a funny guy. And when I've actually watched his live streams, actually tried to listen, and it's not just what some guy clipped of him, or it's not what just some person's opinion was, like he does talk like 100% truth. And he only ever says truthful things about what's happening in crypto. He talked a lot about all of these corrupt lenders that later went bankrupt. He talked a lot about keeping people away from these sort of centralized exchanges and entities. So like, I don't know how you like, for me, it was like when I looked into what he really said, I didn't really see any reason to hate anything. It was more of just like who his image was on social media that was like the reason people hated. So I honestly think he's a cool guy and what he's working on is pretty awesome. So, I hope that it all works out for everybody, honestly.
I'm really impressed with your level of awareness and introspection there. Very cool. Very cool.
I think Donovan picked up some hate himself because he started covering PulseChain at one point, and people were piling on, because it's yeah, we know we deal with all the time. I can't say that it's any different crypto to crypto. We certainly feel like it's worse for us than anybody else, but I just ignore the crap that's out there, because I think that most times when people are talking about the negativity and the things that they bring up, they're just subjectively applying the same rules. They apply them differently. Like my token's great, my coin's great because people have to buy it at the top so I get value and then sell it at the bottom, right? And that's how I earn money. Mine's great, but yours is a scam because people have to buy it at the top and sell it at the bottom. It's kind of like silly, right? And I think to that end, I think one of the things Richard had done very well with his educational approach with crypto
Right.
is now, well, whether he's right about everything or not, you guys can decide, right? That's not the point. But he certainly speaks the truth about what he believes. And the idea that, hey, when you're dealing with crypto, right? I mean, how do people make money in crypto? Because other people are speculating and they buy tops and sell bottoms. That's how you make money in crypto. Now, until we have some of these neat crossovers that take place into real life, that's how we get value in crypto. It's uncomfortable. If people don't want to talk about it, they block it out. But I mean, essentially, other people lose so that you can win. I don't like that. I don't like even saying it, you know, and half the people listen to just stop listening because I said it, right? Because it evokes that emotion, like I'm doing something wrong, right? Because it goes, it's halfway towards the, you know, the idea that you don't get in crypto at all because of speculation to start with. But I think that if you can take a step back and realize that we're only living through a very short period of time in the entire timeline, right? Not going to be here for the end, right? It's just probably not going to work out that way, right? All of us have a time span. During this period, you know, there is opportunity to gain value, yes, and be part of something new. And it's more like you know, getting back to that grassroots idea, it's more about a movement. It took me a long time to kind of get my head around that. It's more about the movement of becoming your own bank and changing the world. Of course, I want to make money. That goes without question, right?
Right.
But I mean that whole belief system, and you know, and when you start talking about product, I think one of the products that we've developed through HEX and PulseChain is community. That is a product
For
as
sure.
well.
Yay.
There's value.
One of the strongest communities, I might add, like absolutely massive. Welcome.
What's up?
It's
Good to be on
meet
stream with you. How's it going? Big fan. Actually, I just told Maddie in the private chat, I'm like, I have no idea who this kid is. Hopefully, I don't come off like an asshole right off the rip. But I was in the green room listening, and you seem like a reasonable young man and very intelligent. So I'm happy to be involved with the conversation. Sorry for my tardiness. I was helping a friend with a personal matter, and here I am. Happy Merry Christmas, all that stuff to everybody. Yeah, let's
Quick
go.
question. Are my headphones messing up, or is Toby only coming in the left ear?
Toby's,
Am I coming in left ear?
He's left only.
You need to go up
what was
into
that?
the right with your audio.
What is
Like,
happening, bro? Is
but-
that better?
Oh, there you
maybe?
go. Much better.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, do you know what it is? Check this out. On StreamYard, if you click stereo audio, apparently it turns into mono. So don't do that. FYI.
Fair enough. Well, look.
But now it's fixed, so cool.
Tobiwan is here. He's a regular in the gang, and he helped to produce a movie that I just got a copy of in real life.
Nice.
Yeah, the highest of stakes.
Oh, no way.
And
Yes.
so Tobiwan, he helped with the funding and the production, and he's a regular on Game Theory Gang. He's a longtime believer in HEX and PulseChain and Richard Hart and DIY investing here. Donovan, he has been in crypto for 8 years. He has a YouTube channel with way more subs than mine, and he is speaking so level-headedly about HEX and everything. It's really refreshing, I must say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I heard his take on and the honesty, which is like, okay, cool, I like this kid. I think this is gonna be good. And sorry to call you a kid, but like I'm 52 years old, bro. So like anybody that like even looks marginally younger than I am, they're a kid to me. So no disrespect by any means. Yeah, like you being honest enough to say like, was my judgment based on the fact that maybe I was jealous a little bit that I had missed the pump, you know, I'd missed the run up on HEX. So a lot of people just can't ever allow themselves to cop to that. Like maybe that's informing their attitude about it. Like they're just so deeply bitter that they can't just zoom back out and look at it objectively and be honest, you know? So I commend you for that. That is definitely a mature way to approach it for sure. Cause it's like, you know, it doesn't get you anywhere, you know, if you continue to just double down on previously bad decisions, and especially as new information comes to light. Cause it's like, you know, we were in early, like I'm like pre-day one, you know, I was, still am an admin in some of the Telegram chats, you know, from the early days. You know, like you said, you know, all the way to the end game here, whereas like where I've helped fund the production of the film. So, you know, in that journey, we had a lot of time to learn about it, right? And like we're a bunch of math nerds, so we're digging in and we were learning curve. It took a long time for like, you know, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it's like I was probably, you know, just like throwing money out the window at it for like maybe the first 6 months or so before I had a clue what TShares were. And like my staking ladder is ridiculous. It looks just so like somebody took a shotgun and shot a calendar. It was just had no rhyme or reason. And then eventually I started to tighten it up and make it better, but it took time, you know. And then when you've got a narrative out of the gate, which is most often true, which is something's a scam, because most crap in crypto. Uh-oh, did I fade out? Am I gone?
No, you're
Okay,
crushing
I'm good.
it.
Yeah, my camera went out for a second on my end. But yeah, so it's like most things in crypto are scams, and they do go to zero, right? And even if they aren't a scam necessarily, they might just have bad product market fit, right? And they just, it might be a good product, but it just never got in front of the right number of eyeballs or the right eyeballs, and it fails in the marketplace. So it's not a bad supposition to make when you hear Richard Hart's a scammer and Hex is a scam and it's a Ponzi, to just, turn the page and go to the next thing and, see something that doesn't feel as questionable, right? So yeah, so I commend you for giving us a second look and like digging into it and getting your learn on. I think it's a great thing. I think it's the best store of value ever created. And I think it's just going to take a while for the market to catch up to that. And I'm here for it, bro. It's like one of my things is like I haven't been in crypto as long as you. It's like I got in 17, but and I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, because my kind of claim to fame is I've never cashed out a single hex. Like, I mean, I was at the top.
Wow.
Infamously, I had 20 million hex liquid at the top, and I chose to fill in a gap in my staking ladder like 6 or 7 years out, and I just threw it down the road. It's like, oh, that was $10 million.
$10 million.
What am I thinking?
What were you
Why?
thinking?
Yeah.
So
it's
like
long term.
I'm thinking long term, right? So definitely a long term believer. But then I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I've never pulled any money back out. Like from when I started with like Bitcoin and Litecoin and Chainlink and Ethereum and like all those things that I first started in 17, I have yet to pull any money back out into fiat. Wow. So I guess I'm here for it, right? Like I'm like pot committed at this point, but it's like or should be committed. But yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, that's why I'm part of the gang.
Yeah. We all have different opinions on things from time to time. We have different backgrounds and strategies. So it's, I think that's what the audience really likes, as well as is when we can give our different perspectives. And so I think Donovan had alluded to the fact that he was able to get other people that he knows in his life into crypto and they did well. Could you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got I've got all my brothers in crypto. I've got my dad, I got my sister, well, my whole family, except for my mom, but I paid my mom's house off last cycle, so that's like the same thing. She'll be okay.
That's awesome.
What was the timeline of you believing in crypto and then your family believing?
So like the day my friend showed me the chart of Bitcoin, I just knew. And like I don't know like what it was, because like I dropped out of high school. Like I remember being in high school, knowing, like, taking all these tests for try to figure out what you're going to be for college, or like what your personality fits, and just looking at the list and just feeling like sick to my stomach, thinking like, this sucks. Like, I can't imagine doing any of this. And so I kind of was like trying to think about like how I could maybe make money, how I could do something. And so I just remember like knowing that the one thing I wanted was money. Like, I didn't really care about the other things. I wanted a lot of money. So I was trying to figure out what was going to get me that. And so I just Googled like I looked on YouTube, what is money? And I started to just kind of teach myself a little bit about it. And when this was in my senior year in high school, and I remember watching this video, and it was from Mike Maloney about the Federal Reserve and how it's a scam. And like, it like blew my mind how crazy our financial system is and how the Federal Reserve works. And when I watched all of that, I was just like kind of dumbfounded by it. But a few months later, that was like the same time where I met up with this friend. And this was shortly after I dropped out. And he showed me the chart of Bitcoin, told me how it's a decentralized payment system, how you don't have to have like a bank account. You don't have to use a bank. It's just peer-to-peer, all of that stuff. And so it was like right when he told me, it was the biggest epiphany. I just instantly knew without a sliver of doubt, this was the future. It was going to take off. And that was exactly what happened. That was like $450. So I remember coming home, telling my whole family about it, telling my dad about it. trying to tell him a little bit about it. I didn't know hardly anything about money at the time. So like my slight bit of knowledge, telling another man with like a slight bit of financial knowledge about what this blockchain stuff was. And so he didn't really understand it, but like he ended up putting some money in when the market first broke out. It went to like $1,500 or $1,800, I think it was, when it first went to new all-time highs. And then it was during that period where he put money into some altcoins, gave me money to start trading. And it was actually my dad giving me money that I started like learning how to trade in the markets. And so
Nice.
I ended up like making him a little bit of money. Then the 2018 bear market happened. We pretty much lost all of it. So like he's been in ever since that period, but he's been in long enough. He's made a good amount of money. And with what he has invested going into this cycle, like I think that he'll probably be able to like retire or at least be like pretty set. So like I think that it's all going to work out as far as that goes. But my family kind of believed in it pretty quick. Like my brother quickly got invested when they saw me make money. Like all the people close to me, I mean, the second they see their brother making money, I mean, it's like, why wouldn't they put it all in? And then I really believed in it from like a technological perspective. So it was like, if you have the passion behind all of that, yeah, I mean, you can sell anything if you're actually passionate about it because people can pick up on that energy. So they felt that with me. They saw how much I appreciated it, how much I really believed in it. And it was just like, they just knew. And so, you know, it's obviously paid out from that point.
That's
What'd
awesome.
your mom think when you paid off her house?
Honestly, like I didn't even like plan on it. And I don't like to really bring it up like it's like it's cool. Like I'm really grateful for the fact that I was able to do that. But like, I don't like when people like bring it up like I'm this cool person. Look what I did. Like I did all of these things. It's just kind of silly. But because the way I look at it is like
I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you there, man. I mean, I appreciate you being humble about it. I get that, but it's a really cool thing to have done. Like it is really cool. So.
Definitely. I mean, I really do appreciate it considering like when I was poor and like I was like really low, I remember just like praying to God and just saying like, if you just get me an opportunity to like change my life. Like I remember praying in like the detention center, just like my life was falling apart. Give me an opportunity, anything. Like I just need something I can direct my life to. And so it's like, you know, in the darkest times, I remember even in the 2018 bear market, when I didn't have any money, didn't know what I was going to do anymore. Like I got fired from my best friend working for his YouTube channel and stuff. Like I remember just like wanting money just so I could take care of my family. That was the only reason. And so it's like, that was like always one of my goals deep down, but like the way it kind of happened wasn't necessarily like I just, hey, like, oh mom, I'm going to pay off your house. Like it wasn't, it was the fact that like she didn't have money to pay off her house, was supposed to have money at this deadline, didn't pay it, like lose the house. So it's like, oh, well, I have this money. Of course I'm going to pay it. So it wasn't even like a question. It was just like, she needed the money. I'm going to pay this for her. So that was definitely one of the coolest things like in my life that I've been able to do, considering like
Absolutely.
I wasn't able to get my mom invested because she didn't really have any money. But doing that was like kind of the same thing as getting her invested, because that was the whole goal, like help my family get out of debt, help them retire, help them. Like at the time, like I thought I was going to be able to like maybe save my parents' marriage, but that didn't work out. That was like another big thing. Like it was like this big, I can use crypto to save the whole world. And even though it doesn't work like that, like it's definitely changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, right on. Hey, I got a question for you. It's like I guess it depends on when you get into the cycles of things. And then how low whatever you got into goes in the bear. But did you have any experience with your onboards, family, friends, otherwise, that ended up in the red? Mm-hmm. And then how did that go? Like, because it's like, you know, it's easy for guys like us that have been around it long enough. Like, everybody calm down. It's cyclical. It's going to swing back around. You're in the blue chips. You're in the good stuff. This is, you know, this has got legs. You know, don't freak out. I know it dropped 90%. Don't capitulate. Like, I'm just curious of your experience with that, because it's like if they just bought in and then they see that they're in the black and they're up however many X's, then of course it's easy to rally around you and be like, yeah, this is awesome. But the challenge is when all of a sudden those gains start to go away, or they even ended up in the red. So curious of your experience with that.
Yeah. So I had a few family members that got in at like, it wasn't the top, but it was like 30K before Bitcoin went to 69,500. So like it was a relatively good time at that period to get in.
Right.
But they got in, and then like the market ran up. Like they did make some money depending on what they were in. But then the whole market like kind of crashed after that. And so it was like I myself got stuck not taking nearly the amount of profits that I could have, because I was like full force thinking that there was going to be some like much bigger blow off top for Bitcoin to go like at least to 100,000. I was like, Bitcoin to 100,000, like give me 250. I was really thinking that it was just going to go way higher. So when it was at 69,000, it was right at the time frames where I had to take profits. End of the year 2021, where I told everybody the following 2 years to take profits. And I was like, well, you know, what's to say it doesn't extend a couple more months into January and then goes to that level. So like I ended up tricking
Been there.
myself. And like it was just it's just part of the process. Like that was in that same process. I ended up getting my those two family members stuck in the downtrend of the bear market too. So like they've, as far as I know, like I know my one uncle is for sure held, because I talk to him frequently, and he believes in me. So I mean, like he's insecure about it because he's never been through a bear market or a bull cycle really. So it's like he's insecure, but he believes in me, so he's got confidence that way. But like the other uncle, I don't know, like I haven't talked to him in a while, and like I'm pretty sure he's holding it, considering I just don't think he'd sell it. But he like all of a sudden just stopped like coming to family events. It's not because of that. It's for sure not because of that. But I don't know. Like
it's a good story though.
Right. Yeah. It's a challenge for real, because it's like I mean, it's funny because it's like I've made this joke on here before, where my fiance, it's like her dad, like every time that he talks to her, he'll be like, is Toby okay? You know, because it's like he knows like how heavily I'm in crypto, and then like how wrecked it's been over the last couple of years. And it's like, no, it's like I'm good. It's like I'm good. You know, and it's and then I used to trade like for you know, pretty seriously for a while there, and I was like a big fan of Eric Crown with Crown Crypto, and I got, you know, some of his trading courses and his paid indicators and stuff, and did really, really well with that, and actually basically got in 17, figured out how I could take $300,000 and turn it into 30,000 by riding it to the top and then I'm like using my old day trader brain from the 90s when I used to do this with stock, and I'm like, well, if I dollar cost average on the way down, then you know the math will be such that it doesn't have to go to all-time high for me to break even, right? So it was a grind, and I mean I was like losing hair, losing sleep. It was bothering my relationships as far as like waking up to alerts, you know, setting limit orders, like just chasing the gains and trying to claw back in a bear market was rough. And then I stumbled across Richard Hart, and I kind of limped in because I wasn't, you know, I'm like, this is a brand new thing. It's like, yeah, this guy seems super cool. What he's doing seems super cool, but I'm not going to like throw the house at it. And then just before, I don't know if you're familiar with what was called Big Payday, but it was after the first year of what was called the adoption amplifier, which was kind of the main way people could get into HEX, where you would basically swap Ethereum for HEX more or less. Right. And right before Big Payday, which was like this big payout day where everyone was going to get like these potentially substantial bonuses if you're staked at that point, I was tracking with all of my Eric Crown indicators and all of my pattern trading stuff I had learned over the years. And I had literally, I still have it on my chart. I have a little arrow. I'm like, begin bull run, ? On the Bitcoin chart. And it's the end of October, just before Big Payday in 2020. And at that point, I had a decision to make. Like, okay, this is getting ready to break out. I think we're going to finally start off onto the bull run that I've been waiting on with Bitcoin since 2017 when I first started. Or I can dump all this shit and go all in on HEX. So I had taken my 300 grand, watched it dump down to 30, ran it all the way back up to $287,000. So I still never got even. I still was down 13 grand on the whole thing, but I'd clawed my way back pretty substantially just through trading, which is, as you know, is not common, right? Like most people get wrecked on trading, you know, but if you know what you're doing, there is money to be made. Just got to be prudent. And so I did that, but then I dumped all my Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and went all in on HEX at that point. And then Bitcoin took off and went on the monumental bull run that we all know about. and then Hex took a monumental shit. So I thought, oh my God, what have I done? It's like I just built all this up to the, I finally got almost to even, and then I missed the run. And but in hindsight, it's all worked out great. But man, it's a wild ride. I can't do it now. It's definitely a younger man's game. More power to you if you're making it work with the trading thing, but it is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a really hard game. I mean, emotionally, I think that's the best thing I've learned in crypto is like the emotional psychology of cycles. Understanding that was like how I finally was able to see the market for the first time. But then like making silly mistakes, like getting too greedy, just making all this money, holding it right back to zero, and then down to a loss, realizing the loss only for it to see it go back up again. Like doing that hundreds and hundreds of times,
right.
Knowing you're going to do it in the moment, still making the mistake, and then just being like, why am I still doing this? And it's the hardest game, like mentally, that you're ever going to play. But by me playing that game over and over and over, like the amount of like intelligence I have over my own emotions, and to be able to see that habit pop up, whatever the bad habits or good habits they are. But it's like you learn more from those losses. So it's like those negative emotions where you're freaking out, where you're losing sleep, where you don't know if it's gonna work out or what's gonna happen. That's where you really start to learn things, because it's almost like a traumatic experience. So like anybody right now that's going through the bear market definitely knows what that's like, and it's not fun. But for me, it's like there was a friend that I was like, we were friends on Twitter and stuff, and we like talked a little bit out of Twitter. He worked in the oil field, and he committed suicide like kind of in the beginning of the bear market. Not so much in the beginning. I think it was during like I think it was when like Terra Luna collapsed. It peaked. Everything like shit hit the fan.
Mega FUD, right?
At that period, like he committed suicide, and like it's really unfortunate because like I look at him now, I look at some of the coins that I know he was holding, and I see like how they're like sitting back at all-time highs, and it's just like a year and a half that he would have had to wait. And it sucks because I've had all those periods where I struggled with my mental health, all of the therapy programs I had to go through, all of the times where I was suicidal. And at the end of the day, it's like being suicidal over money. Like if you have a family that you got to provide for, I understand that like there's severe consequences with it all, but like the ability to hold on and just like trust the process, because things do turn around for the better. And it's always the person looking for an opportunity, continuing to look on the bright side of things. Eventually, like there's going to be an opportunity given to you some way or another, like whether, it takes a little while that you didn't expect, you'd have to go through all these loopholes. Eventually it works out. And it's always those type of people that come away with the most on top. So like regardless of what the portfolio is at right now, like I think that there's a lot of good things still coming very, very soon.
Dude, I just became your latest subscriber. I like you.
Yeah.
Literally went and found your channel as you're telling that story, and I'm like, bling, I'm subscribed, and I got the notification bell on, so I'm interested in checking you out. But that's fantastic. I mean, you seem very young, so it's like it's great that you have that level of insight and like wisdom that you're imparting to your followers at such a young age, because Maddie, is famous for that. It's like I'm sure about Maddie and his background with psychology and stuff. So he's kind of been our resident. Oh no, Maddie's a clinical psychologist, like did all kinds of amazing research projects and stuff, and is kind of our resident psychologist, psychotherapist for the whole community, and has been amazing at really kind of, I think, keeping people level-headed, not only through the bear, but also the bull, where he's done a great series on something called sudden wealth syndrome, because I'm sure that you've experienced this too, where, the challenge in a bear is pretty evident, right? It's like pretty soul crushing to watch your portfolio just dwindle to dog shit, and pardon my language. And, but in the bull, it's heady times, and you can see these huge paper gains, and you can really make some equally bad decisions, in those times. Mm-hmm. So to be able to like be cognizant of, emotionality being your downfall, and like how to rein that in through experience, and then imparting that to your followers, that's great. That's good stuff. I mean, we need more of that, right?
Well, I've got an update on crypto psychology and the true DeFi movement of programming mental health into money, because ever since I heard about Bitcoin, I wanted to use it as a way for people to reward themselves for healthy behavior. And this is something that it would be hard to wrap your head around if you weren't trained in all the different levels of psychology that I've come across, because basically, just like anything else in this world, not everybody it's not common knowledge that there are some techniques in psychology that kick ass and people don't use them. And so one example is psychology is known for talk therapy, but talk therapy doesn't have the strongest effect size out of any psychological intervention. There's one that's better, and it's called contingency management. Contingency management is where people get paid to quit drugs or do some other healthy behavior. And so I waited for 6 years for some hope that there would be low fees, because I realized back in 2018 that you can't program this onto Bitcoin, which I would have liked to do at the time. And so anyway, like the protocol that I ended up creating, these guys have already heard about. It's called Time Pays Me, but I've got an update about it that I'm pretty excited about. And I would ask that the viewers and people, on the show with me, like, don't just trust me that this is, that this is such a cool thing. You be the judge of whether you think I'm performing at a higher level or not, because I've done a HEX conference every year, and this is going to be the 4th year. And I want you to be the judge to see if this year is way better than before. And I want you to be the judge if you've been watching this show for the past 161 weeks. I've gone live every Tuesday and Thursday night. And I'm hoping to get people like, skeptics like Johnny Chaos, who's just a brilliant and genuine person. I'm hoping to get him involved. But basically, the idea is I had created this protocol where you could time lock any crypto. Ethereum, you like Ethereum? Cool. If you believe in it so much, why don't you time lock it for a year or a week or however long you want, right? Which addresses this issue that we've all felt with trading and short-term market psychology, stuff like that, bear markets, bull markets. Anyway, I thought that was cool because that's what I did with HEX, where I held some liquid. I did a staking ladder every year on my birthday, and so I had some coming out, and it did really well, right? And I'm really grateful for that. And so I wanted people to be able to do that with any token. And so Time Pays Me allows you to pay your future self with any crypto on Ethereum or on PulseChain. And I thought, that's cool. And then there's a feature in Time Pays Me where you can set up a second seed phrase, and that unlocks all these cool smart contract features of being able to set up an inheritance or undo a hack. If you're that doesn't sound real, but I published my 12 seed words to $10,000 and then recovered it to prove to people that
Really?
this is a real.
I got hacked at the end of the year 2022 and lost I think at the time it was like $50,000, maybe 60,000. When I went to write it off for my tax or for my CPA, it was like 350,000. So I can definitely see the value in that.
I'm sorry to hear
Power
that.
to you on that. Yeah, it's good. It wasn't like on my portfolio or anything, but it definitely sucked.
Like the fee for Time Pays Me is so low that I'm not, and there's no token for it. So I don't know if it's going to catch on for the undo a hack feature, although I hope that people learn about it. But it's the third feature of Time Pays Me that I've suddenly become the most excited about because I used it on myself. And this is the feature where you pay yourself to achieve a goal. And it's like you've got this crypto savings and you believe in crypto and you're going to hold on to it anyway and not trade it. Some portion of your portfolio is your long-term bag. Well, so the idea here is that you can use the most powerful intervention in psychology in a way that's never been used before, where you pay yourself to achieve whatever behavior goal you have. So for me, my first goal that I wrote onto the blockchain and I put $10,000 of USDC behind was to write the first chapter of a book explaining why Time Pays Me makes so much sense for people's self-improvement. It's a DeFi tool for self-improvement, first of its kind. And surprisingly enough, even though I'm the person who, you know, wanted to bring contingency management to crypto first and foremost, I have still been totally blown away with how positive the results have been on my own life, not just in finishing the chapter, which I did on Christmas Eve, but in lots of other areas like planning the conference this year. I've found a way higher level of motivation, and it kind of makes sense. And this is you know, to finish up this long story, this is how I'm rationalizing it now, that because like at first I thought it was my diet. I tried a new diet and I was like, oh, I'm thinking more clearly. Maybe it's the diet. And I'm like, all right, change the diet. No, wasn't the diet. Still thinking super clearly. And now I'm starting to think to myself, well, maybe it is the crypto contingency management. And so I'm asking myself, you know, before I'm asking other people to try this, because I've tried it on myself for 3 months. Seems to be working. And you know, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. And the way that I explained it to some family and friends recently is, do you know what happens when you have people borrow money from you who are like close friends? What's the cliche thing that happens when you loan money?
It becomes a gift, whether you meant for it to be one or not. Sometimes.
I mean, even if you're gifting people money,
right,
it can make your relationship weird with them.
Yes,
it can strain it. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the idea that I'm wrapping my head around is that maybe we live in a world where everybody is in the habit of doing that to themselves, where you strain your relationship with your future self by using credit cards, by trading short-term crypto, by, you know, having this sudden wealth. And then, you know, in all these ways, I think we kind of set ourselves up to borrow from the future instead of paying the future. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited about the possibility that it very well could be that there's this super powerful psychological effect that the entire world could be more productive and happy if they had a relationship with themselves that had the same common sense that we have with the people around us. That you know, you shouldn't make the relationship with yourself weird by borrowing from your future, and that maybe even a small amount of money that you are already have in your savings, if you assign a goal to that, whether you achieve the goal or you come up with a different goal that's better and you achieve that, it kind of triggers something inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Maddie, if I can kind of circle that back to some stuff. I'm sorry, is it Dylan?
Donovan.
I was gonna say Donovan because I love like the old 60s musician Donovan, and I'm like, no, it's not Donovan. Is it Dylan? Sorry about that. I had a 50-50 guy. It was either Dylan or Donovan. I had a 50-50 shot and I blew it. But sorry about that, Donovan. But you were giving an example of how like you kind of repeated the same bad behaviors. You watched something go up and then down to where you're break even, and then all of a sudden you're in the red. And then like even though you knew like don't do that again, you found yourself, and I've been there, bro. Trust me, so many times. I mean, that's how I kind of. It wasn't just the market going down. I kind of wrecked myself with some bad trading behavior,
right.
In the 17, 18, 19 era before I kind of got some better control on my risk management and things like that, and got it turned around. So like something like Time Pays Me, it seems like could have been something that you could have utilized to maybe save yourself from yourself, and like be like, hey, here's this thing, and I don't want to repeat that same behavior, so I'm going to put this in Time Pays Me and lock it away from myself for, you know, X number of months, a year, however. And then that way it kind of keeps you from doing that behavior that is something you don't want to be doing.
Right.
So,
I mean, my entire trading plan is like centered around 4-year cycles. So getting in and out around time. So like I'm looking at the end of the year 2025 for being out of the cycle. Like that'd be a perfect opportunity to be able to say, okay, well, I told myself for 2 years I'm going to stick to this exact time just to guarantee that I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this away for this period. And if I don't do anything for a year, so to speak, then I'm going to be able to have this money. Like, I think it's a huge opportunity because, for me, I procrastinate a lot. So it's like, I'm always like really good at like waiting to the last possible second to finally do something when like I'm smart enough. Had I have just done the things I was supposed to at the time I was supposed to, like I'd just be so far ahead of everybody else. And so it's kind of that sort of thing where it's like, what things should I be working on that I know I should be working on that I'm not, where I could actually reward myself a little bit more besides just the fact that it's like, oh, well, I did this. Cool. I did that. That's it. Like, at least for me, I value money a lot. So it's like, if I could pay myself later for completing something that I know I should be, I mean, I definitely see the value behind that.
And then like the anti-hack thing, it's like, I mean, I fawn over Maddie's brilliance in this thing all the time. And it's like, because that is huge. It's like I mean, in a nutshell, Maddie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in a nutshell, it's like if someone hacks your wallet and tries to get access to it, it's frozen for 7 days. They can't do anything. So you have that much time. And if you set up alerts on Etherscan or on, wherever that can let you know that someone's trying to do something, then you have 7 days to go in there and like flip a button basically and have it revert to the new seed phrase. Like it basically transfers to the new seed phrase that you only know. And it's like, how many people could that save from utter ruin? I mean, I think
it would have saved me.
Right.
I'm literally a case study myself. Like that's why I'm sitting there thinking in my head, like, oh, it would have been perfect had I had that, because I could have instantly shut things down. Because I remember watching like my money getting drained and just like sitting there like, well, I can't do anything. Like I can just watch this happen right now. And I was like, I can't like. And then when I tried to send it off, like they put like this virus on my computer and just deleted my entire like operating system. So it was like there was no getting anything back. I did save like one collection of NFTs, so like, it wasn't like a total loss, but like I think that that's super valuable as far as like there's going to be so many hacks, there's going to be so many issues with that, especially as we move more towards the blockchain. Can't tell you the amount of people in my group, just on YouTube comments, on Twitter, wherever it is, that have told me how much money they've lost because they've got scammed. I mean, I've manually filter YouTube comments because of how many people impersonate me, how many people are just trying to scam other people, because I know that I've like talked to people personally who have just lost money. People that like I know didn't have a lot of money that were like emailing me for like help to like, like in these small countries that they just don't have opportunities. And then those people get scammed in the comments. And it's just like, I just see so much value for those sort of things because the average person doesn't really know how to work this stuff very well. And I mean, if I can be in a crypto for 8 years and get scammed, like everybody can get scammed. It's not just like any random person is going to be the person. It's like any person that's been here for a long time, years and years, can still be susceptible to it just because of how smart and adaptable these scammers get over the years.
Well, and the other thing too that I find uniquely fascinating and just brilliant about it is that we know on balance that holders do better than traders, right? It's like if you hold long enough, especially with things being cyclical, and you can, and then you have this mechanism that's like, hey, it's like I'm kind of forcing myself to hold because I literally am not going to have access to these funds for X number of years or however long you set it. And you can have it set to where you can drip some back to you over time. So it's not like it's just totally frozen. Right. Like you can actually have like a little faucet that you dial in, like, hey, every month I'm going to get this much back of it and it'll drip back to me. And there's other safeguards, but I'd encourage you to check it out. And it's like, I'm not invested in any way. I don't, and like the fees are negligible anyhow, but it's like, there's nothing other than just my absolute excitement around what it could present, how it could help people. Is why I always go on and on about it anytime Maddie talks about time pays me. So it's like, I really hope it takes off because I think it could do a lot of good out there in the world just for getting, because it's like, hey, I dabble, I still trade a little bit, but I don't do it with Richard Hart coins so much. But with some other stuff, I degen a little, as I call it. But it's like, but I've got a skill set to where I'm doing well doing that, right? I just don't talk about it publicly because I don't want to lead people to things that, most of the time get them wrecked, right? So it's
Right.
like, but there's, so it's most people that I've gotten into things, that I've explained to them the benefits of like a staking ladder or just holding basically, and, over a period of time, and then having a good exit strategy to take profits responsibly, using limit orders, don't push the price against you with market order, the basic stuff that you are obviously already know. But yeah, Time Pays Me is definitely worth a look. I'd encourage you to dig into it. Maybe you and Maddie can do a stream on your channel sometime, and like he can walk you through it or talk about it more or something, because I think it would be of benefit to your audience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like right off the bat, I can see two different aspects where I can personally utilize it. And I think that that's like the big thing is like with trading, you got to have a plan and sticking to it. And it's easy to develop the plan, but like sticking to it is really hard, because when the market starts going up and down and you're up, when you start getting into territory of like, well, for example, like Terra Luna and Phantom and Solana, I bought all of those in the last cycle, like early. And I planned to hold them before I took the trade, but it's like, when I ended up selling Solana because of like token unlock, some silly thing for like 3x, bought it at 60 cents. Like I would have just been so rich. So it's
Right.
like I fumbled that one really bad, but then it's like Phantom and Terra Luna both pumped at the same time, went up to 20x. I took a lot of profit, went up to 40x. I took a lot of profit. I told myself I was going to hold the whole cycle. And so I look back and it's like, if I would have done that and stuck to that plan, the amount of money I'd have. So it's like this cycle, that's really the thing that I'm doing, is like sticking to what I initially wanted, whatever I had conviction in, holding it. But it's like, even just to 100% guarantee that you're still not going to get in your own way, you could still use this and not get in your own way and guarantee that you're not going to. And so I would use it for that reason. And then also the safety aspect, it's like kind of a no-brainer for a lot of reasons why, I think that more people would want to use it too, aside from me, because it's like, if it helps you and protects you, but then also gives you other advantages inside of the market. I mean, I just see a lot of value behind it personally. So I'm more than interested in looking into it and talking more about it.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. And anybody who's trying to get a jump start, the best place to start is on Twitter. So x.com/timepaysme. I have a tutorial thread on there that we need to link to on like the main website. But if you go to the main website, you kind of need to know what the tutorial stuff is. So yeah, that'd be a good place to start. And Casey here with the $20 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, I'm more surprised that projects trying to gain trust with communities with a majority stakes of coins are not using Time Pays Me to prove trust or long-term commitment via the blockchain. Yeah, so basically if you founded your own token and you promised that you're not going to dump on everybody's head, why wouldn't you prove that on the blockchain using something like Time Pays Me? Basically, just compared to telling people to take you at your word. And
Well, and the thing is too, Maddie, is
feedback
like
I've gotten. Yeah.
the thing too, like being, a degen has such a negative connotation, but it's like, it's like, it's like we all know what we're talking about when we say that, but it's like, I mean, I enjoy trading. I enjoy the excitement of it. It's like, but I also understand how you can absolutely, if you don't know what you're doing and you are not very, very, very careful, you can get wrecked really fast, right? It can, I mean, especially like if you start doing wacky shit like leverage trading and whatever. I used to do margin trading in the stock market, same stuff. It's like you're just begging to get wrecked, and I did. And so it's like, I've learned those lessons, but it's like, so if you have that itch that you want to scratch, like you said, Maddie, it's like you have your holding bag, you got your long-term bag, right? Or most people should. And then you've got your, what I call my degen bag, right? I've got my trading bag that I'm going to go and see if I can run it up to a certain number. And it's the same as when I used to play cards for a living. It's like, I'd run it up to a number, and then I'd squirrel away the profits that I wanted to make sure I was going home with. And then I continue to play with the house money, and see if I could run it up to another $5,000 or whatever. And then I just rinse and repeat until it turned against me, and then I would call deny it. So it's not like you got to do it with everything, but to protect yourself with them, because and I'm sure you can attest to this, Donovan, like, you've got a really good trade cooking and everything's looking really solid. And then all of a sudden you start to chase it and throw more money at it because you think it's really going to the moon. And then before you know it, you've blown your cost basis, and and it makes a relatively small downturn and you're upside down, because you bought higher and higher and higher because you're chasing green candles, which is emotions, right? So, so if you can prevent yourself from accessing your long-term bag, to throw in, to pull from, to go into your degen bag because you've locked it with time pays me, then you've literally done what it's designed to do, right? Which is like save yourself from yourself.
Right.
So, yep. But enough about that. Sorry, every time he talks about it, I'm like, start like fangirling all over him. Like, this is so cool. It's like, why is not everyone trying?
I see the value. That's the cool thing about it. Like, it's definitely something that's valuable. So, I mean, like, anytime there's value behind it, same thing with me getting into Bitcoin. Like, you see value behind something, and it's like, it's like an epiphany. Like, that this could be something that so many people are able to actually use.
Yep.
Now I just need to get on the bigger YouTube channels and convince them that, because how much of that is fake? Like all these different mainstream YouTube channels that are talking about crypto, and I don't see them talking about the best tech always. So we'll see. We'll see what they say to that. But at the end of the day, I think, yeah, the more people who get it and try it, then they'll be the ones to get the word out too. So it doesn't.
And you're potentially protecting other people in the coins that you like, right? Because it's like, if you get hacked,
that's true.
What's going to happen? Like, they're going to dump those fucking coins, right? So it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't want any hexagons to ever get hacked, because I know that that's going to negatively impact the price. And it's like, am I there to buy the dip? Sure, but I don't want the dips. I don't want that.
Right.
And I don't want to see people getting wrecked and like, nefarious actors getting a hold of tokens. And like we had an infamous thing that happened with Hex on Ethereum, where there's 800 million Hex sacrificed for a project that never came to be. So now that particular holder, it's like this guillotine hanging over everyone's head of worry. Now, granted, that's not a huge amount of money, and it's like that. I'm sure the market would absorb it relatively quickly, but still, chances are, if they got those funds through kind of like, nefarious ways, they probably don't have good intentions. They're
Right.
probably not going to be smart about, they're probably not setting up a staking ladder. They're not coming like tried and true hexagons. They're just waiting for a time to dump that on everyone's heads, right? So it's like, if you can keep it out of the hands of hackers or nefarious actors by, using tools like this, then it's like, come on, that's just a no-brainer. You're helping yourself and other people in the projects that you like.
Yeah, I don't know. I might change my opinion on that particular point, even though I've expressed what you just did before. I think whether you start off as a scammer or not, if you reach a certain level of success, you might switch to something genuine just because.
Sure.
Why not? You already made it.
Yeah.
So that is my highest hope. Sure, I'm an eternal optimist and probably
Guilty.
irrationally so.
Too. Yeah.
But look, in the past, I've worried about the BankX bags, but there are so many cool things happening in Hex and PulseChain that I think are going to get displayed at the Hex conference. Like, that's going to be a great way to take it all in. I think just in general, people who've been following the show know about this stable coin that's not held in a bank. It's backed by Pulse. Guess what? Yep. Ethereum only got that protocol after it did a 10,000x. What do you think is going to happen to a blockchain that gets it before the 10,000x? That could become something where we don't need to ask permission from banks to hold our dollars in a centralized, database, because there's a decentralized database that's holding on to it. And that is a fundamental shift in what is probably the killer app of crypto. If we go back to what Donovan was saying earlier about Bitcoin being something that allows people to transact without banks, without high fees, PulseChain and USDL or other protocols that are similar, I think are being set up to be able to hold billions of dollars, to allow people to transact with this stable coin. And sure, we like number go up technology. Stable coins don't have that. But if people start to realize that crypto is more than just about getting rich, it's about having the freedom to transact. It's about having low fees, like lower fees than the normal banking system. What? I get excited about so many things. So there's lots of examples that are going to come up at the HEX conference.
Hey, Donovan, you've obviously been in crypto for quite a long time now. What's your experience been with the traditional banking system? Like we've talked about this on this stream before, about some issues. Like, for example, I recently had to change banks because they would no longer let me do deposits to Coinbase.
Wow.
So I didn't know if you've run into any of that yourself, or if you've heard of that through your community, where traditional finance is kind of
right.
And there's no real reason that was given to me either. It's just that it's a risky endeavor, crypto in general. Even though I had sent like large amounts of money over since 2017 to Coinbase in particular, all of a sudden they're just like, nope, can't do it. We will not wire to any crypto.
I have
like,
heard of
wow,
people having that issue. I've seen people posting about it on Twitter where their bank just shuts them off. I personally have not had any issues with it. I've never had, I've ran hundreds of thousands of dollars through my Coinbase. So I've never had any issues doing anything with that. And even like Kraken or Gemini, I've honestly mainly used Coinbase. I've always just been a big Coinbase guy, but I've never had any issues. Even when I had like my Texas bank account for like where I run a lot of my business stuff, I've never had any issues running it with them. I'm glad, because I've always been worried about that.
Yeah.
Always thinking I was going to have some issues, and I was more worried about it in the last bull market because like I had all of my business tied around it. So it's like, if I all of a sudden can't use my bank, like what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make money? So I'm still worried about that to some extent, because like, who knows when one of my banks is just going to say that I can't anymore, which is why it's like, I'm all in on crypto. Like I've got very small amounts of like personal money, like on me at all times. If I need money, like I'll do a quick transfer and put it in my bank, like within a day. Like I don't really mess with, like money in my bank account very often. So I'm always a little bit worried about that. And it's probably smart that I do prepare a little bit more, but I do have two banks. So it's like, I'm kind of expecting,
there you go.
As long as I've got one, I probably won't just get shut down both ways. So thankfully, no, but I think that hopefully with this cycle, that'll be even less of an issue. Like I think
that's what I'm thinking too.
That's what's weird, is people are even having the issue now to begin with what's kind of even happening in the market. It just seems weird you'd even get shut out like that.
Yeah, it's nutty, man. It's like, because it seems almost conspiratorial, right? Like the traditional finances, like, and it would make sense because it's like, DeFi is in direct competition with the products they're offering, like the services that they're offering. And as DeFi grows, banks are really less necessary. Sure. So, in that regard, it kind of makes sense. But on the flip side, it's like, wouldn't you want a piece of the action still if you're a bank? Right. Like, wouldn't you still want like to still provide some services and fee-based things for your customers? And it just seems short-sighted to just be like, no, crypto. Can't do it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you there that I think as broader adoption comes, and maybe those things will be less of an issue. But this is definitely a DeFi zealot channel. Like we are all about like leaning hard into like a world where we don't need to rely on traditional finance as much, or maybe at all. In my world, ideally, that'd be awesome. Like if I just never had to deal with those.
See, that's kind of the unfortunate thing with this whole Bitcoin ETF. It's like, I feel like we're just constantly moving further and further away with how things should be. And it's unfortunate considering it's like, for people like us that have been around for understanding what crypto was like kind of in those early days, you guys being in HEX, like that's kind of just like what the community already is. So it's like not really changed much. But for like the average person in the market, it's not even close to what it used to be. And so I see that shift's happening, and people are just more worried about the short-term profit than they are about like the way the direction is moving. Cause it's like, for me, I got into crypto because I believed in like anti-banking. Like I wanted to be my own bank, have my own control of my money, because the Federal Reserve's how they've manipulated so many different, I mean, not just the US economy, but the entire like global economies as a whole. They've just been able to do so much damage with it. And so it's like, for me, I saw the value of what crypto can do, but the more that it's kind of progressed, the more adoption we get, the more it's like almost being used against everybody just for more control, which was always my biggest fear to begin with, because it's either going to be the thing that can like actually like completely free everybody from like these corruptive powers, or it's the thing that completely like shuts all of the corrective powers like over everybody to where we can't do anything. So
Right.
I kind of see it only going one or two ways. I really am optimistic. I'm just a positive person, so I hope that that's going to be the case. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but with the ETF and the way things are moving, I'm getting more and more skeptical that that's going to be what ends up playing out, or at least for Bitcoin. Bitcoin seems to, you know, that's kind of like out the window where the direction of that's going. Like it's already going to be completely, you know, adopted, and I think it's going to be dominated by some of these big players, and it's going to be more or less manipulated by them. I've always looked at Bitcoin as a bad payment system, because not only is it relatively slow and it doesn't really work as far as that goes, but it's like it's pseudo anonymous. So like if the government makes me attach a photo ID with my address, like they know every transaction I've ever done through the histories of blockchain. So it's like it's the worst thing that could happen for humanity. So realistically, right. I'm more anti-Bitcoin than I am pro-Bitcoin. Even Ethereum has a lot of issues. Like Solana has issues. Matic is a VC dominated coin. Like a lot of cryptos are relatively crappy. So it's like, if we're getting down to like the true tangibles of like crypto and decentralization, you know, I wish we would get more towards that, because we're slowly fading away, and it's becoming just like all about the money in the short term, where it's going to end up just like more or less controlling people rather than doing the thing that it was supposed to. It just feels like Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars. How like it was supposed to bring balance, and now it's like tearing everything down.
Right. Love it. Love any. I mean, obviously, with my handle Tobiwan Hexobi, I love it. I love any Star Wars reference. I'm down for it. But yeah, totally, man. Great rant. Somebody clip that. That was great.
Totally. Agreed. And the chat has pointed out that Donovan has a lightsaber in the background of his.
Oh yeah, right on.
So,
that is awesome, dude.
Yeah, when I was in fifth grade, I remember like going into a GameStop, and the employees there were fighting with one of these, and they were like the cool ones that like actually like sounded like it was slowly moving, and like I remember seeing that and was just so amazed. And like in the last bull market, I was like, man, I've got money for the first time. What should I buy? And I was like, I want one of those lightsabers. So
that's awesome, dude. I have so much more respect for that than like people out buying Lambos and shit. It's like, that's more my jam for sure.
Well, the ex-girlfriend that got me into HEX, like I remember, so like I made the most money I had ever made in my whole entire life. Like I'd moved out to Santa Monica, California. I like had a good amount of money, I guess you could say, at that time to move out there. Like, and I expected I would keep making more as the bull market went up, but I was kind of like taking a risk where I didn't know if it was going to work out. And then when I moved out there, I had like the best month or two of my life, like shortly after. And there was this week where I made like 350 grand, and it was like 30 grand this day, 50 grand this day, and it was over the course of just 5 days that it was like that. And so I remember like looking in my bank and just having all of this money and just being like, I don't even own a car. Like what? Like I'm in Santa Monica. Like there's like Ferrari dealerships, there's Porsche dealerships, there's Lamborghini dealerships. Like I've just got to go to Malibu down the road. But then I was like sitting there, and then I was like telling my girlfriend about that. And she's like, no, take all of it and put it into crypto. You know, it's and I put a lot of it into Ethereum at like $300 right before it went to 4,500. And like, I'm so thankful for the fact that she was so level-headed to like helped me to like do the smart things like that, because
Nice.
looking back on it, I thought she was crazy when she got into Hex and PulseChain and stuff and was just so excited about it. I was like, man, this girl's like, she's lost the plot. But then like I
love
knew
it.
she was smart the whole time. So it's like I like believed what she was saying. So then when she explained things, that's when it was like, oh man, like, you know, it really is kind of the original crypto I got involved with. And so to actually have, you know, involvement with some of you guys in the community, as more of you guys have actually followed me, it's honestly been a little bit refreshing, because I do see a lot of those same values in the market or in the community that kind of have dissipated out of the market over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks.
The hexagon philosophy, I like to call it, you know, it's like, it's not just owning a bag that gets you that moniker. It's like, I think there's bigger things to it. And I mean, that's just, you know, all about, you know, following what Richard Hart has espoused for years now. You know, if you really listen to what the guy said, if you didn't come along at what I would call the wrong time and get turned off by all the outrage marketing, or if you did even during that period and you cut through that noise that he was doing on purpose to, like, you know, go back and watch some of the old Top Hat streams and like listen to really what his philosophy and what his intentions were. I mean, it just resonates, you know, with me to my core. It's like, yeah, it's like, this is what's up, you know. It's like, so it's I mean, I'm super stoked to see kind of where it goes. And I mean, you know, I think that as things like Bitcoin kind of become the bitch of the system, you know, it's like, which is what I kind of feel like with the ETS and stuff, it's kind of happening in a weird way. I think we'll benefit from it because it'll get more people some exposure to crypto in general and more comfortable with crypto in general. And then, you know, with proper regulation and proper educational resources and stuff out there to keep people away from just totally getting scammed or wrecked on bad investments. I mean, crypto is the future. Obviously, it's like none of us would be on a stream at all talking about this stuff if we didn't think it was the future. It's not always just about the money, right? I mean, making gains is super fun. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, to have something that you can actually believe in, like the philosophy of as well, is like, that's like icing on the cake.
Agreed. Well, I think that that's the most important part, because if you're going to believe, if you're going to invest in something, you kind of want to believe in the people behind it and the idea and the vision. That's like why crypto's fun, is because we're kind of at the beginning of it. So like you get to see people's true intentions and true values. Sometimes you don't get to see people's true intentions all the time, but that's kind of why it's nice to have blockchain, is because, you know, we don't necessarily have to trust people. We can prove it and verify it on the blockchain. So it's like, you know, I think it's pretty interesting to see the way things are moving. And I only think it's only going to continue to get better from here. And like you said, you know, if Bitcoin's going to kind of cement itself as being the bitch of the system, so to speak, like that leaves the opportunity for these other projects to kind of, you know, assert themselves in their own niches. And, you know, with Hex and PulseChain, like they really are kind of at that point where, you know, we're going one way or another. We're either going to go to this new system that's really bad and worse than we're at, or we're going to go decentralized. And I personally like to believe that we're going to go decentralized. And these are the alternatives that are going to end up working when that actually shifts.
Crispy,
I'm with you.
What do you think?
Crispy?
I think that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was just a pause, and I just didn't know if you
Uh,
heard the call for your input.
Yeah, I must be on a time delay. No, I think that the future is bright for crypto, and I think that DeFi is the future, but it's not going to be without a fight. You know, because you know, games are games and power is power, man. And so, yeah, you know, the bigger crypto gets, the more it encroaches on other people's ability to control, right? And so I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how it all comes out. I mean, eventually, so far, at least in my lifetime, most of the time, things work out right. Mostly, you know, I mean, I got free music on my phone, you know, and I'm not running around with an 8-track tape anymore. So, I mean, you know, that was a big thing, you know, is that what bankers are a little bit more powerful maybe than, you know, music makers and, you know, movie makers and all this. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's natural that, I mean, I'm kind of off on a tangent maybe from what you guys are talking about exactly, but I think that we have an opportunity for another information revolution with money, and we'll see what happens with it. It's going to take some time.
Well, and I think as technology advances too, Crispy, I'm sure you're with me on this, and DeFi becomes more user friendly, then I think that adoption will kick up. I mean, people are, there's people that are already getting like chips in their hands, right? To like make it easier for them to like shop at Whole Foods or whatever. And I mean, to me, that seems bonkers. It's like, what are you doing, man? It's like, come on. And it's like, and then you can get all weird and biblical conspiratorial about it and say, oh, it's a mark of the beast. And, I mean, you can go down that rabbit hole if you want, but, and maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, I feel like the older I get and the more like learned I get, I feel like the more I realize the less I know, right? It's like when I was younger, I felt like I kind of knew like more than most. The older I get, I'm like, I don't know anything. But I think the technology, like it's like we joked before about the Robinhood app, right? And how Robinhood, like the story of Robinhood is what? He stole from the rich to give to the poor. And then we kind of realized like that's not how this Robinhood works at all. It's totally on its head. So I've joked that we need to come up with the Sheriff of Nottingham app, just out of the irony of it, and then have that be like a DeFi version of Robinhood, right? To where you keep your own keys, but it allows you to interact with DeFi and like, do your trading or do your, to build your portfolio or whatever. And as technology, advances, which, with AI and everything else and just so many brilliant minds working on this stuff and people that are concerned about self-sovereignty and financial freedom, I think that, Crispy, I think you're right. I think there will be a battle because it's like people that have power don't give it up easily. But they also I liken it to like BP, right? Like BP is one of the biggest investors in alternative energy sources. Well, wait, they're an oil company. Why would they do that? Because they see the writing on the wall. It's like they know it's an area that's coming. I mean, it might be decades away still, but they want to be positioned to where they're just not out of the game because they doubled down on oil and only oil, right? They're gonna spread it around. So the government will figure out a way, right? And I mean, maybe it's the KYC thing. And they always push for everything, right? They want to get it's politics 101. You ask for the moon and you hope you fall somewhere in the middle, right? It's like Trump's was a perfect demonstration of those types of things. But it works, right? So it's like that's why they're doing it. So it's like if they're going to push that hard, they're going to find the boundaries of what people are comfortable with and what we will let them get away with, let's say. And as long as we have places like YouTube and places like Twitter and Rumble and other sources for people to communicate these ideas, and maybe it's me being also an eternal optimist that I'm a little too pie in the sky about this stuff, but I think that the human nature of wanting to be in control of your own destiny will win out, right? And it's like, and not everybody's a sheep, and not everyone's gonna get a chip in their arm. Like people are gonna want to have some control, of their own lives.
I really want to get this game theory professor on our show because I met him in Chicago, and
he's awesome.
He was explaining to me about. No, actually, this is one.
Oh, not Lamont. Oh, okay, right on.
Not Lamont.
Okay.
Yeah, because Lamont is a finance and crypto professor, but this is actually somebody who specializes in game theory.
And game theory, okay, cool.
Explaining to me, which our show has been about game theory for the past year and a half, maybe more. And but there's this thing called mechanism design, and I think he explains it so well. I'm gonna let him come on and explain it. But basically,
awesome.
In Bitcoin, like you kind of have a little bit of both game theory and mechanism design in the sense that the system was set up to be able to predict the outcome of a human behavior, even though that human behavior isn't forced. Nobody's forcing you to run a miner to, mine Bitcoin, but people are incentivized to do it in such a way that this very unusual thing happens where people can trust strangers on the internet who are verifying that nobody double spends their money. That was like a huge breakthrough in crypto and just in human psychology actually as well. And so, when I also imagine like you guys do about how the government would react to losing control and this and that, that's kind of where my mind goes is like, well, what type of a system would it be where the government would want it to succeed as well, because it benefits it benefits people, not just in government, but the individual as well. Like what kind of system would that be? And I think, honestly, in the most optimistic scenario, you would have a situation where either AI is creating massive deflation pressure, so they need to keep printing just to outweigh that, and then crypto does well because it's a separate system. Or even better than that, if crypto ended up making people a little bit more productive by their own free will. And again, you guys are going to have to probably experience a little taste of time pays me or crypto contingency management or time locking in HEX or any of these things to really see it as clearly as I do. But I mean, if GDP went up 5%, that would be an incredible source of wealth for the world, and there would be more to go around. If it increases people's productivity by 2x or 5x, like I think it could, then it's even more profound, and to where I think, like the internet, it would just get adopted because it's a win-win for people and for society. So yeah, that's kind of the best case scenario. I agree with the worst case scenario. I agree that like having a blockchain where the government KYCs everybody and then they slowly clamp down on all your freedom until it dies and people don't even know how to define freedom anymore. It's already happening. But if we can win the race, then that would be really cool. So
that's the question. Are we in the lead or are they in the lead? I don't know.
Right.
I think this cycle,
that is the question.
I think this cycle is going to decide it. I think we're going into the next 2-year period that is going to decide. So,
well, and think about, like, I mean, guys like Elon Musk, right? It's like, how has he been able to move the needle so much on, the consciousness of the planet? It's because of the reach he has and the money that he's made, right? So it's not only that he's obvious genius in so many areas and has done these amazing things, but he's had the money to back up the ideals that he's wanted. So if all of a sudden this crypto cycle does what I think it will do, you're going to have some new billionaires printed and then, or minted, or whatever you want to call it, right? And it's like, what are they going to do if they're about it? If they're really about DeFi, then they're going to push those things and those ideals forward. There's going to be more people that are crypto positive in politics, because it's like, I get the whole, I mean, as I get older, I'm less of an anarchist, right? It's like, but it's like, as I get older, I understand that's like, you kind of got to work in the system that you have. It's like, yes, can you move the needle by being totally, just a radical and like, pushing at the edges that way? Sure. But how many people, mainstream people, are going to get turned off by that? Especially older people that have like more to lose, right? Because they can't rebuild their wealth, and you got to make it easy and palatable for those people. So if we get intelligent people being backed by intelligent, because it's like even the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, I think that what was so compelling about him is he seemed like this altruistic guy that really wanted to do good things for the world. So it's like the storyline was great, and that's why so many people rallied around it. It all ended up being a bunch of nonsense, and people were absolutely destroyed. But it's like, if we could really get that, which I think that there are people out there that would be genuine and really want to make those changes with the wealth that they've made in crypto, then I think that moves the needle in our favor. Because it seems to me a little nutty that someone would make a mad fortune in DeFi and be like, peace out, I'm all in fiat now, let's go TradFi. It's like, to me, that just seems like, what kind of disingenuous bastard is that? Although there will be those guys for sure. I think there's going to be some of those, like, maybe like some of us here on the stream, if we make those mad gains. And I mean, Donovan, you're a young man, very articulate, maybe we see you running for governor of Texas someday or something, who knows, right? Because it's like, that's what we need, is intelligent people that understand the bigger picture, that can, educate and get people to see what obviously is core to our beliefs, right?
Right. honestly.
Is he going to announce his
candidacy? Are you run? Wait, Donovan, do you have an announcement?
Yeah.
Did I let the cat out of the bag and didn't even know it?
Yeah, honestly, that's always been my dream, is to run for president. No, not really, but I just became a YouTuber. I wanted that influence there. That's
There was
There you
enough.
go.
I
That
could
was
make my
enough right
difference.
there. Oh man.
Well, you maybe can have more influence there than you can in politics nowadays. So who's
Well,
to
that's
say?
the way I look at it. Like, honestly, the people with the most influence are people on YouTube. Like, Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber ever in all of history, and he's got more followers than there are like people in whole countries. So it's like,
Right.
it's kind of crazy to think about how much influence people are going to have. And that's kind of what, like, go back around the point. Like, I think it's really whoever gets the most influence. Is there going to be one person that can sway everybody's public opinion that there's going to be one alternative that's truly better than all of the others? Or are these people just going to end up selling out and choosing the profit route? Because it's tough, because you have the people that want to do good and you have the people that want profit. And it seems like the people who want profit generally rise to the top in certain situations, specifically when we're talking about money. Yes. And I think that at the end of the day, even the people that want to do good, there's going to be such a huge pushback from the people that are just there for the profit. And you're going to have those people that are going to be able to sell out for the government, that are going to be able to, ultimately forfeit true decentralization, true transparency, true, certain things, putting backdoors into protocols that don't need to be there, anything that's just not how crypto should be. I think that that's inevitably going to come. And I just hope that it's not like the situation where you have somebody like Nikola Tesla, who had all of these amazing inventions and ideas, yet only kind of kept them to himself and didn't really do much. And then you have JP Morgan coming in and like buying up a lot of those ideas and just kind of hoarding them. So it's like, a lot of the times these people that do good, they just are doing good just because that's what they are. And then you have the people that are here for profit that seem to dominate entire industries because that's always their intention. So I'm hoping that there's somebody out there that's like actually like altruistic and wants the good for everything and like is actually here to promote something positive, because like we all see the value and what it could do for helping so many different people in the world. The question is, are we going to be able to do that, or is it going to be, dominated by somebody else? And, obviously we're all positive, so we'd like to see the good thing kind of spawn from all of this, like it could happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I concur. I think it's coming. It's like, and challenging times, like, create great men, great leaders, right? And it's like, and we are definitely in some challenging times. So I think it's a different landscape than it used to be. There's so much kind of working against a truly good person rising to the top and them actually being a truly good person and staying a good person. But I think it's coming. I mean, I think that there's a possibility that we could, maybe Richard Hart's going to run for president. I don't know, maybe, right? Or my dream of all dreams I would love to see him testify in front of Congress about all this stuff, because I really feel like he could open some eyes there. And the writing's on the wall. It's like, we've got some pro crypto candidates more so than ever that are like, that have got significant traction. So I think, and ultimately it's like, not pragmatist, what is it? A populist. A lot of these politicians are going to go which way the wind blows. So even if they don't necessarily ascribe to a particular set of beliefs, if they see that that's where the groundswell is and that's where they can garner votes, then they're going to do what those people want, right? And so I think that they're kind of like unwitting leaders of what we want to have happen, just because they want to maintain their position, right? So
right.
Yep.
I hope Richard keeps inventing cool things.
Yeah. It's
He's
been
good
a
at
wild
that.
ride. Yep. It's
really
been fun.
good
I
at
didn't
that.
watch his whole thing yesterday. It's like with family stuff and whatever. I didn't get to watch all of it yet, so I'm looking forward to going back and seeing the rest. But
Ooh,
what I
man.
saw, I liked.
It
So
was a
that'll be my
gem.
yeah. I clipped a funny out of context quote of his and put it on X, but it's just totally body, like just juvenile humor in me that made me think it was so funny. So if you want to look at my Twitter and get a giggle.
I already
then-
know what it is, which is funny.
It is funny, right?
Um,
right. Yeah.
totally
I won't repeat it. It's a
inappropriate,
family friendly
and,
show. I will not repeat it
I
here.
think. When are you gonna clip something from that stream that is substantive?
Dude, I will. I absolutely will. And actually,
Cool.
I have a little clip. I got to clear it with Highest of Stakes because it's not out there except if you've rented the movie, then you've seen it. If it's okay for me to have screen grabbed it, because it's like I want to, like, this is what's dumb. I'm one of the producers, right? I bought like I don't even know how many box sets. I know friends, family, whatever. Have one for myself. But then I went ahead and got it on like Amazon Prime. I got it on Vudu. You know, I mean, it's like, why am I buying it on multiple streaming platforms? It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. But from that, there's like this one thing in particular, and I need to just memorize it so I know it. But like, it's my favorite line from the movie, and Kelly Richmond Pope is asking him like, well, why should I trust you? Right? And he says,
Oh, I know.
do you have the quote? Do you have the quote? Well, it's something along the lines of like, don't use someone else's, or don't substitute your own due diligence for someone else's confidence or something like that. I can't remember exactly the quote.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard one to remember. The way that
He said it so perfectly though. It was like, man,
the
that
way
was a
that I
great
reiterate
quote.
it is that he says don't substitute somebody's confidence for competence.
Yeah, there's that.
But
too.
he actually used a different word than
Yeah.
competence.
It's like as a proxy. Oh, what is it? I've got it somewhere. I'll find it. Go about your business. I'll find it.
Oh, dude, that is
Because I literally,
amazing.
I've got it here. Hang on. Let's see if I can just. Can you hear this?
I don't want you to get in the habit of trusting men. Cryptocurrency was invented to get rid of what you're asking me for. You should not use as a proxy for your own due diligence someone else's confidence. It's not a good habit.
Yeah, YouTube, we're not copying that, so don't give us a strike here.
No.
We're discussing it.
Yes.
Donovan, have you seen the movie?
I've heard
Oh,
about
you haven't
it.
seen it?
Oh,
I actually
nice.
have heard about it through the community just as of recently, but no, I haven't seen it. It's actually
Dude,
out though.
Yeah, it's out. You can rent it on Vudu. If you go to highestofstakes.com, it'll show you places to rent it. You can buy a physical DVD copy. There's box sets for sale, but you can rent it for like $3.99 on, I believe it's Amazon Prime,
Okay.
Vudu, Google Play Store. It's on
Apple.
some airlines, like international airline flights, like United Arab Emirates, I think is one of them. Like in their flights to Dubai, which is cool because you can think of like super wealthy people that are crypto
the crypto
savvy,
guys.
like
Yeah, I was gonna
watching
say.
Highest of Stakes on their flight into Dubai, right? Which is cool. But yeah, it's like I'd be very interested in your feedback on it. It's like you should do a stream on it, bro. You should watch it and then like give your opinion on it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely check it out.
Yep.
I've seen it 10 times now.
I've probably seen it at least that amount myself. It's addictive, and it's
Toby,
like, and
your
honestly,
your mic
it's
is kind of cutting in and out.
yeah, I'm getting a little glitchy here. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see if I can make that better. Is that better? Hopefully, it's maybe 1, 2, 3. A little bit.
still
We'll
staticky.
see. Yeah, it's still a little staticky. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. It's like you spend money on this like nice equipment, and then it just turns to dog shit sometimes. But anyhow.
But yeah, the movie's good stuff, and yeah, it's like we got a second movie yesterday with the 90-minute Richard video.
Winston Churchill always has to make an
I
appearance
laugh.
at least once.
The chat was asking about your dog.
Yeah, people were asking in the chat.
So Donovan, tell me about your YouTube career, because you told me about your crypto, but how did YouTubing come in?
So I had a best friend, still really good friends to this day. He was the one that got me involved with crypto. And at the time he was making crypto videos in 2015. He started his channel in 2015 and he had been making them for a few months, just covering markets, doing technical analysis on Bitcoin and things like that. And he was struggling with drugs a lot, like we both kind of were, him more than me. And he was like living in this apartment and eventually like he couldn't like afford rent. And so he didn't have anywhere else to go. And this was like the middle of the winter. I live in Utah, so it's like freezing cold. And so then my buddy, his parents said that he could move back in to their house, except his house, like it was full because they had all their family was back in for some reason. They had like a cousin that took his room. And so there was no room at all in there. And so his dad like went and took all of like the generators and the tools out of the tool shed. And it was like this little shack, like just out by his house. And they put this bed frame into the wall for him to sleep on. And that's where he was like living for a while. And it was like real freezing cold in there. Like he sometimes like asked me to stay the night because like I think that he like felt bad that he was just alone out there, and I didn't want to because it was so cold. And so that was like where he started uploading on YouTube every single day, and like made a Discord server, tried like 5 times as hard to do everything. And I watched him go from like 100 subscribers to like 20,000 in a year. And then I watched him go from the shack outside of his parents' house to, living in this nice penthouse in Vegas and having, millions of dollars just like almost instantaneously. So I basically took his blueprint for everything I watched him do, and I just copied it 100% and then fixed some of the things that he screwed up on. And then that was kind of like July 3rd, 2018 was when I started my channel. And then I uploaded pretty consistently throughout that bear market. And then it was like the beginning of 2020 that things started to take off. Like some YouTuber saw my chart on Twitter, made a YouTube video about it. Then another YouTuber did the same thing. And then my channel went from like 300 subscribers to 10,000. And it just kind of blew up from there. So all I really did was just copy my friend that did it before me, and then just happened to do the exact same thing all over again. So yeah, it's been pretty fun to say the least. I'm super thankful for it.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like I said, I've watched a bunch of them.
I'm subscribed now, so I'm gonna have to go back and check you out. So
thank you.
And it's nice to know that you're a Hexagon. I wasn't sure exactly, because I got to the stream late and whatever, and I wasn't sure who you were before we started. So it's nice to know that you're actually a Hexagon, that you ascribe to the same belief system as a lot of us in the community. So yeah, man, it's like I'm us now. Welcome to the cult. Welcome.
Yeah,
to the cult.
for sure. I'm happy to be a part of it. My ex-girlfriend indoctrinated me, so I think I'm here to stay at this point. Not gonna be selling my PulseChain anytime soon or anything else that I've bought over the time. I think it's honestly, I'm happy to be a part of it. I think the community's great. Everybody that I've met so far has been awesome. You guys have been great. I'm super grateful that you guys have had me on tonight to be able to talk, and you can see that we share a lot of the same values. So it's been a great time to just connect and, talk about some of these same thoughts and philosophies that, a lot of people have that I kind of forget that some people have anymore, because it seems like we've kind of distanced ourselves from that.
Right.
It's hard, man, because we start talking just in general, right? Even in the HEX, I think you know enough about HEX already, but we have a very close-knit, and still have a very close-knit group of people who were trained to focus on one asset, to delay gratification, to put all the economic energy in one direction. And now we're forced through circumstance to support PulseChain and PulseX. And not to mention, people also chase shiny things, right? And so it's quite interesting, man. It's a lot of fun, but it can be a little stressful. I have to separate it out in my head, because I have this whole like hex maxi narrative and mining, and how that makes sense, but that doesn't fit with I have Pulse, and it doesn't fit with I have PulseX, and it doesn't fit with anything else I did, right? And so, and what I'm finding, and I think we kind of projected this up front. But I do a lot of numbers and looking at the charts and digging up the information on HEX and what's happening on chain, because it's all there and it's all public, right? So I'm doing that. And early on, kind of concluded, yeah, you know what's going to end up happening is HEX will end up being the store of value. And now I'm living it, on PulseChain, and now I'm living it And I'm finding that, yeah, you know what? This stuff was really great that I was involved in all these different things, but I might have been just better off if I had just taken it all and put it into Hex.
Mm.
But anyways, when I'm talking to people on stream, you know, I got to remember which hat I'm wearing, you know, in that we got to speak the right language to it, because I really can't at this point, really just can't say, hey, nobody should be in Pulse. You guys get out of here, right? I mean, it's kind of silly. We need Pulse because Hex is on it. But anyways, just to kind of explain where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think it's been really great having Donovan on, and I know I said we were streaming for 2 hours, so we can start wrapping up here. Donovan mentioned Mr. Beast. I'm also a fan.
He's my man. I like him. That's how I found out. That's how I found out about fire, man. That's what I did, right? And I did. That's when I came in here. That's
Financial
why my
independence, retire early.
Yeah, financial independence, retire early. I was looking at how long it was going to take, because it's a heavy lift outside of crypto, man. I mean,
You heard about it from
spend,
Mr. Beast?
Well, yeah, he was one of those sources. I mean, he's big. He's a big fire guy. He's big in the movement, and you know, and so I watched a bunch of his videos, but that's how I got involved with the fire thing. And then once I was making enough progress, I also caught wind and well, I already knew about crypto. I just never gotten in, decided to go to crypto. I combined the two, like, how could I do this even faster? Right. And this is where Hex comes in for me. Because in fire, if you might remember, it's about saving enough to put into investments that will pay you back on a yearly basis, so you have an income, no matter what the market conditions, you know, up to like, you know, 99% chance of things going well. And so it made sense to me to try to fill out a ladder with crypto, right? Using Hex for that purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that has been a really consistent message from you that I think is really, really healthy for people. The reason I bring up Mr. Beast is because the Hex community is going to be doing a Mr. Beast style stunt here on January 6th that I want to invite Donovan and everybody watching to participate in. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the most YouTubers live on one screen at the same time. Okay. And this is like just an example of all the people who have come on to the Hex conference before. And this is kind of what it looks like to have 170 people on screen. Now, I'm going to have to hack together like 6 different Zoom streams. So I'll try to make it look as pretty as possible. I don't know if it's going to look this pretty, but you can look around as we've done before, and just zooming around, you know, you see all the personalities, and Vibra Finance is in the chat. Adam and Lindsay are awesome. And just everywhere I look in this image, I see a community of people who are all very different, but have something in common, where we all believe in the future of true DeFi and crypto. And so I'm inviting everybody to sign up a separate, basically, if you're going to be a speaker at the conference over the 4 days, you're welcome to fill out the survey for that to sign up. There's a second sign up to be in the 1 hour and 15-minute segment for breaking the world record for most YouTubers live on one screen. And you can find both of the signups at hexconference.com. So please, even if you don't have a YouTube channel that you've been posting to, or if you have more subscribers than we do, like Donovan, everybody's welcome to participate. And I think it's going to be really special whether we have 100 people or 200 people or whatever participating. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And that's going to be January 6th, which is like a little bit more than a week and a half away, on a Saturday afternoon.
Nice. Yeah, conferences are super informative too.
Oh yeah.
I'd definitely love to be a part of that. It'd be cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm excited for everybody to get the variety and the exposure of that event. So, well, the time has flown by, and this has been a great interview. I really want to again thank Donovan of DIY Investing. For,
DIY investing.
I would encourage you to follow him and everybody else on screen here on Twitter and YouTube. Links in the description below. Hit the like and subscribe button. Let's go around the room and just people can say where to find you so that the people listening in audio form can.
Sure, you can find me on the Twitter out there at HexFire.io. Here on YouTube, HexFire.io. If you go to the website, HexFire.io.
I'm most easily found here on Tuesday nights with Maddie and Crispy, and whichever guest we might be lucky enough to have, like Donovan tonight. So this has been super fun. And then other than that, I'm on X, and it's at Tobiwan_Hexobi. So I'm pretty active there. Not as much as I used to be, but hopefully I'll be kicking up my TA stuff again, because that seemed to get a lot of traction. Like you were talking about growing your following. People like TA, man. It's crazy. It's like, I mean, I tripled my following just by starting to do TA updates every day. It was nuts. But yeah, so I'll be doing some TA with Tobiwan will be coming back in the new year. So
You think if I post a chart every day with a green arrow going up, that's enough TA?
you never know, dude.
Two
You never
green
know.
arrows, I think would be.
2 green. There you go.
I love it.
And Donovan, where can people find you?
Yeah, honestly, the best way would just be YouTube at DIY Investing. If you want to find any of my other socials, you can find them linked in the description of any of my YouTube videos on X or TradingView. I don't know. There's a lot of them. You can find me. There's Discord servers, all kinds of fun stuff. So anybody that found any value or wants to check stuff out, check it out. I appreciate all the love and support. Appreciate anybody that tubed in. It was definitely a great time to catch up, meet everybody here, and talk a lot about the original values of crypto that, I definitely can appreciate. And I know a lot of people out there can as well. So, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to tell you, I appreciate the fact that you shared so openly and honestly your thoughts. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate that.
I think you picked up some new fans in the chat. I saw a lot of people saying good things about you. So happy to have you as part of the community. It's good to chat. Hope we can do it again soon, and I hope to see you on the conference. That'd be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get all of your guys' socials so I can make sure that I'm following everybody and stay up to date on everything, because this has been a good conversation. Definitely want to stay in touch and keep going and collaborating as we can.
Awesome.
Sounds great. So until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Peace.
Stay crispy.